Okay, so picture this, right? You're a fly on the wall, but not just any wall, the wall of a courtroom.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Sounds juicy.
It is, but instead of like a tense courtroom drama, we're talking about businesses.
Businesses in court. That doesn't sound very dramatic.
Ah, but it is. This is India, and we're diving deep into the world of corporate insolvency, where the stakes are high and the stories, let's just say truth is often stranger than fiction.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. Insolvency, huh? So we're talking companies on the brink, those nail-biting moments of financial truth.
Exactly. And we've got a case today that has it all. A company in deep, a loan gone wrong, and even an appearance by, wait for it, the tax man.
Oh boy, this is going to be good.
Mhm.
So who's our corporate protagonist today?
Let me introduce you to Greatwall Corporate Services, private limited, based out of Pune. They were all about providing manpower services, security, housekeeping, that kind of thing.
Essential services, but not always the most, shall we say, financially stable sector.
You said it. And the plot thickens because we've got our hands on not one, but two legal orders.
Ooh, legal documents, my favorite.
Right, and these aren't just any documents. These are straight from the National Company Law Tribunal, the NCLT Mumbai bench, to be precise.
The NCLT. Okay, so things just got real. We're talking about the big leagues of Indian corporate law here.
Absolutely, and these orders paint a very vivid picture of what went down when Great Wall hit some choppy financial waters.
All right, I'm hooked. Give me the timeline. What went down and when?
So one order is from 2022 and the other is from 2024. They basically take us on this journey, showing us how the whole insolvency process unfolded and then the attempts to, rescue the company.
A story in two parts. Interesting. I'm assuming the 2022 order is where it all began. What triggered this whole thing?
Oh, it seems Great Wall took out a pretty hefty loan back in 2017.
Hefty, huh? How hefty are we talking?
Cryocoolars. 60,000, that's roughly 725,000 US dollars.
Whoa, that's a chunk of change. Okay, I see why this is courtroom-worthy drama. So they got this sizable loan, and then what?
Well, fast forward a few years, and by 2020, that outstanding amount had ballooned. Get this, it was almost $1 million US dollars. $1 million.
Oof, talk about a financial snowball effect. I can only imagine the pressure they must have been under.
Yeah, no kidding. $1 million in the hole is enough to make anyone sweat. I'm not surprised the lender wanted to take action.
Hold on, who was the lender in all of this?
Good question. It was Nagpur Nagarik Sahakari Bank Limited. And let me tell you, they weren't messing around. They went straight to the NCLT, which is where Indian insolvency law really kicks in.
Right, because in these situations, you don't just, send a strongly worded letter. There's a whole process.
Exactly. We're talking about the big guns now. This is where the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 takes center stage.
Ah, the IBC. The rule book for when things go south in the Indian corporate world.
Precisely. This piece of legislation is all about finding solutions for companies facing financial distress, like our friend Greatwall. It's not just about declaring defeat and liquidating everything.
Right. The goal is often to hit the reset button, find a way to actually save the company if possible.
Exactly, like a business CPR situation. And the IBC, it provides this framework, this more structured way to navigate these tricky situations.
So no more Wild West debt collection tactics.
Not quite, but it's definitely a step towards a more, let's say, civilized approach.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the concept of a moratorium comes in.
Ah, the moratorium. Music to a struggling company's ears. It's essentially a timeout, right?
Yeah.
A shield from creditors while they try to get their act together.
You got it. Okay, so we've got this moratorium in place. It's like a pause button, giving Great Wall a chance to breathe, regroup. But, this whole situation makes you wonder about the people involved, the human side of things. What happens to Great Wall's employees while all this legal back and forth is going on?
You're right. It's easy to get lost in the financial and legal weeds and forget about the actual people. Unfortunately, these documents, they don't really shed light on the personal experiences of Great Wall's workers. It makes you think, though, right?
It does. It's a good reminder that behind all the legal jargon, behind the balance sheets, there are people's lives, livelihoods at stake.
Exactly. And that's precisely why the whole point of this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, the IBC, is often not just about, shutting everything down, liquidation. It's about finding a way to get the company back on track, to actually preserve those jobs, if at all possible. That's where the resolution plan comes in.
Ah, the resolution plan. So it's like a lifeline for a drowning business.
You got it. Think of it as a structured proposal, a roadmap for how the company is going to restructure its debts, how it plans to operate, how it's going to handle its finances, all with the goal of becoming stable again.
So it's like a blueprint for a business comeback story.
Precisely. And in Greatwall's case, that 2024 order, the one we talked about, the one approving the resolution plan, it actually offers some pretty interesting details. It reveals that this group, a consortium of 3 individuals, they saw potential in Greatwall, saw a way forward, and they actually became the resolution applicant.
So, like knights in shining armor coming to the rescue. Who are these corporate heroes?
Okay, so we have Mr. Karan Misal, Mr. Ashish Kadam, and Mr. Rushab Ranawat. And their resolution plan is pretty impressive, actually. One of the things they proposed was injecting a huge amount of fresh capital into Greatwall.
Huge. How huge?
We're talking ours, 10,000, and that's roughly 12 million in US dollars.
Whoa, 12 million. They're putting their money where their mouth is, that's for sure.
Yeah, it shows a serious vote of confidence in the company, right? Like, they really believe they could turn things around.
Absolutely. But what about the creditors, the ones who are owed money, the ones left holding the bag when things went south? Did this plan address their concerns too?
It did. The plan outlined a payment schedule for all the creditors, financial institutions, operational creditors, even statutory bodies like the tax department. Everyone was accounted for.
So, like a way of ensuring everyone got their fair share, even if it took a while.
Right. The whole idea behind a resolution plan is to create this agreement between all the stakeholders, a way for the company to fulfill its obligations and move forward. And it's not just the big players, you know.
What do you mean?
This plan also included provisions for clearing employee dues, making sure those who depend on the company for their livelihood are taken care of. They even had a plan for dealing with those personal guarantees that are sometimes required for loans, releasing them so individuals weren't burdened.
Wow, they really thought of everything. It sounds incredibly complex, pulling off one of these resolution plans.
They can be. And you know what? With Greatwall's story, just when you thought, okay, they've got a plan, they're on the road to recovery, there's a twist. And it's a big one.
A twist. Okay, I didn't see that coming. Do tell. What happened?
Well, enter the tax man.
A tax man. Oh, this is getting good. Talk about adding a whole other layer of complexity. So, what's the deal with the tax authorities and Greatwall? What went down?
Well, it seems like while Greatwall was, battling those financial storms, trying to stay afloat with this whole insolvency process, the tax department decided it was time to try and recover some unpaid taxes.
Oh boy, so it's like a two-front war for this company. Trying to restructure while dealing with the taxman. Talk about a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, not ideal. And here's where it gets really interesting. The resolution professional. They had to go back to the NCLT, filed a separate application because of what the tax department was doing. It just seemed to go against how the whole insolvency process is supposed to work.
Hold on, contradict. What did they do? Are we talking about a legal loophole here or something?
Well, it all comes down to Section 14 of the IBC. Remember we talked about the moratorium, that shield that's supposed to be in place to protect the company from creditors during these proceedings.
Right. The business CPR moment.
Exactly. And the resolution professional's argument was that by trying to recover taxes during the moratorium, the tax department was basically, ignoring the rules of the game.
So what were they doing that was so egregious? Did they, storm the offices, demand payments? What happened?
Well, according to the documents, even after that insolvency process was already underway, the tax department kept sending out these notices.
To whom?
To Greatwall's customers, demanding that they pay any outstanding dues they had, but directly to the government instead. And get this, some customers actually did it. We're talking over Ers, 80,000.
No way. So while Greatwall is over here trying to restructure, get back on solid ground, the taxman's siphoning off funds. That seems a bit, I don't know, a bit harsh, doesn't it?
It's certainly a sticky situation, yeah. Now, to be fair, the tax department, they had their own argument. They said some of what they were doing, like issuing those notices, that started before the insolvency process began.
So it's a timing issue.
Partly.
Yeah.
They also pointed to this period where Greatwall actually had a chance to try and settle the tax debt. The appellate authority, the NCLAT, had given them that opportunity. So their argument was, hey, we were just operating within the bounds of the law.
Okay, so it becomes a question of, well, whose argument is stronger? Who's in the right? What did the NCLT have to say about all of this?
Well, in the end, the NCLT sided with the resolution professional. They basically said, look, this moratorium exists for a reason. You can't just go around collecting funds during that period, even if some actions were initiated before. It undermines the whole purpose of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So they ordered the tax department to refund the money they'd collected.
Wow. A win for common sense. So it's all wrapped up, case closed. Great Wall can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
Well, not so fast.
Ugh.
Remember that 2024 order, the one that approved the whole resolution plan?
Yeah.
It's got this interesting caveat, this little disclaimer, that any waivers, any concessions, like this whole thing with the tax department, they're still subject to the approval of the relevant authorities.
Wait, hold up. So you're saying the tax man could still come back, potentially derail everything. That's a lot of uncertainty still hanging over Great Wall's head. Talk about a cliffhanger.
It just goes to show how incredibly complicated this whole world of corporate insolvency can be, right? There are so many different parties involved, different interests at play, and sometimes you even have government agencies adding to the complexity. It's a lot to juggle.
It really is. It's like we've only just scratched the surface of this whole world with all its twists and turns. I'm ready for another deep dive. This has been fascinating.
There's always more to explore, for sure. And every case like this, it gives us a glimpse into how everything's connected. The law, finance, and of course the human impact it all has. Because at the end of the day, behind every one of these cases, there are real people, real stories.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our journey, at least for today, through this fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes confusing world of Indian corporate insolvency law. What a ride. Until next time, everyone, keep those thinking caps on. And remember, sometimes the most interesting stories are hiding in plain sight, tucked away in legal documents and corporate filings.